Hey, what's up? Welcome to my channel. I am Labushka, and today we are going to talk about high school years. Now, to start off with, I wanted to mention that I've been sick for the past 3 or 4 weeks, so I've had quite a break from playing The Sims, from recording, because I ran out of pre-recorded material. So it's given me a really good chance to kind of reflect on my channel and the Let's Plays that I have going and what I want to do with it all. I'm kind of lucky enough that this is just a hobby for me, so I can kind of do whatever I want with my channel. I don't have to worry about if people are going to watch my videos or not. I do this just for fun, and I kind of was getting to the point with high school years that I realized I wasn't really having fun anymore because of so many issues with the game and some things that I think could have been better planned. So during this time, I've been having a break from doing this YouTube stuff. I have decided that I'm not going to be continuing the High School Years LP. I wasn't super pumped for a High School Years themed expansion pack to begin with when it was announced, but I think because I became part of the EA Creator Network, and so I was getting the pack for free, and I sort of felt like, of course I want my channel to grow, I should do this LP, and I like LPs. But I think I really just had, a struggle with motivation since there's been issues and whatnot with the pack. And I've really lost all interest in playing it at the moment, unfortunately. Most of the causes of my frustration have not been fixed. They're either sort of design things that came with the game, or they don't seem to be working how I sort of anticipate that they should be working. But there are 1 or 2 things that actually have been fixed. But at this point, I'm kind of quite over the whole pack. But in no particular order, I'll now go through I think there was 8 causes of my frustration with this High School Years expansion pack. So the first thing is calendar inconsistencies with the events related to high school years and related to teens actually showing up on the calendar. The LP that I started with Tessa and Christy, that calendar had no issues, but I've looked at the calendar in a couple of my sort of private save files, and I even started a new save file, and the calendar still wasn't showing the teens events like prom and the career day and the football cheerleading events, any of that stuff. So the second thing is not a glitch, it's more what I would say is perhaps a design flaw or a design factor that was overlooked, but it's with the live fast aspiration. Now, in my LP that I started for this pack, I gave the live fast aspiration to Christy. And there are a couple of issues with not being able to actually complete that aspiration. Now, the first thing is that she would be required to sneak out of the house. And after doing some reading and research online, it came to my attention that actually she would probably never be able to do that because we don't have parents living in the house. So I don't understand why can teens, have this aspiration, or why can teens live alone if they can't actually complete this part of the aspiration. So, then for me, it became a point of stress thinking about my LP, thinking, okay, then I'm just going to have to cheat this part of the aspiration, and that's something I really, really didn't want to do. The second issue that I had with this live fast aspiration was that later on, I think at one of the higher levels, it requires that Christy would have to summon an urban myth. Now that's all good and well, but it requires mischief level 7 or level 8, depending on where you read online. But the thing is, at nowhere before that does it say that you need to be, reaching level 2 of the mischief skill or level 3, unlike some of the other aspirations in the game. Now, to me, this kind of seemed a little bit poorly planned. Like if you get to the next level of the aspiration and all of a sudden you need to be at level 7 or 8 of the mischief skill and you're only at level 1 or 2, then you have quite a lot of work to do before you can actually summon the urban myth. I'm not saying that it should be easy, I just think there should have been maybe a middle step to get you at least halfway there before all of a sudden being required to be at such a high level of the mischief skill. So this was another kind of issue of stress for me because I was thinking, well, do I change aspirations for Christy? How are we even going to complete this? And I started to feel just really frustrated and kind of a little bit helpless. What am I even doing with this Let's Play if I'm just going to be cheating around aspirations, because that's not how I play and I didn't want to start now. The third issue is the pier. If you watched any of my high school years episodes, then you would remember that Tessa and Christy both had issues interacting with the rides and the photo booth at the pier. Also, there was no one at the ice cream stand, then there was and there wasn't. Like they couldn't even get food. They couldn't pretty much do anything at the pier. Now, since there has been patch updates, I've tested it and they were actually able to go and do all of these things, which, is great now. But at the time when I was wanting to do these things in game and I was really excited about trying these things for the first time, they weren't working. So it really took away from like the fun of being able to do these things at the pier and the fun of trying to, experience all the new things in this new expansion pack. I've also tested the interactions out with some other save files, and my Sims have been able to interact with the rides, the food, and the photo booth and all that stuff. But for me, this fix came kind of a little bit too late when I was already, dare I say, quite pissed off. Okay, number 4, inconsistencies in selling the trendy outfits. Now, what I mean by this is that sometimes the trendy outfits seem to sell really, really easily, no matter whether they're cheap, they're expensive, they just seem to kind of be snapped up by the other Sims, which is great. And definitely this part of the pack can be very fun. However, I've tested it in some other save files and had the complete opposite experience. I've had some outfits that have sold and other ones that have repeatedly failed to sell, even if they are sort of trending. They just keep coming back as like delisted and I need to keep relisting them and they just don't seem to sell at all. Now, I have been able to find an answer to this. I sort of don't understand then how this system works because I've listed the same outfit as cheaper, as higher, and no matter what I tried to do, it didn't seem to make a difference. The outfit just kept not selling at all. And it sort of again took away from the excitement of this part of the game. I was really excited about the trendy outfits. I love secondhand clothing and secondhand shopping, and I was really excited to have it in the game. And again, it didn't work kind of, how I imagined and how I think that it should work. It shouldn't be that hard and that inconsistent. So again, I was just kind of like, oh, well, I mean, there's another part of the game that I've sort of lost interest in. Okay, on to number 5. This has become a major pet peeve for me, the lockers at school. Not being able to assign a locker was just, it's a small thing, but I feel like it's an important thing for high school years and for teens, and not being able to do it was really just disappointing. Now, after the patch updates, I have gone back and tested with Christy and Tessa at their high school where they're able to now claim lockers. And no, they were not able to. I've tested this again in some other save files, and sometimes actually there was luck. And then at other times there wasn't yet again. When does it work? What kind of rule is there for when it works and when it doesn't? I don't know. And at the moment, I really don't care. I'm just done with it. But that doesn't work for me. I don't know how many other people are still having that issue, but it's been an ongoing thing for me since the pack came out. Okay, number 6 is after school activities. Now, I was really, really excited for this part of the pack because I have always wanted more things for teens to do. Like I said earlier, they're not my favorite life state in the game, but I've always wanted them to have like more kind of hobbies. It seemed unrealistic that they're teens and they just kind of don't really do much. Like as teens, they're probably more likely to, have after school clubs and, like hobbies like sports or whatever, something, to do with their friends or with, classmates or just with a group of people that they know. But my issue with this after school activities business is the fact that it doesn't seem to work properly. So if the teens are at school, for example, when Christy and Tessa are at school and they both had an after school activity on the same day, then it sort of was like, okay, it got to 3:30, they would start walking off to their activities, and then we'd go to a load screen and end up at home. And, it might be like 3:35, 3:40 in the game. And so it says, oh, well, Christy and Tessa are home for their activities. But it's like, well, they didn't actually go. I understand the loading back to the home lot, but the fact that they come home with me, it doesn't seem to have been fixed, and it actually ends up that they're not going to their after school activities, and therefore they're not getting any progress in those activities. This doesn't seem to be a problem if one of them stays at school and doesn't have an activity and the other one does. For example, if Christy had cheerleading and Tessa didn't have chess, but she would still kind of hang around school, then Christy seems to go to cheerleading. But if both of them have an activity, then it doesn't seem to work. Alternatively, an issue is that they don't automatically go to the activity. So, it might get to 4, or after 4 in the game, and they haven't automatically triggered, like The Sims, that they have an activity they need to go to. So they're just at school doing whatever they want. And that also kind of irritates me. I don't see why it wouldn't work. Like, for example, when Sims have university and they go to their classes and they do it automatically. Like, what's the problem here? To me, it's the same kind of mechanism, so it shouldn't be that hard to implement, and it should work, and it doesn't seem to work consistently. Okay, number 7, and I'm like really starting to like whinge and get quite annoyed just talking about all this stuff, but attending school doesn't seem to get the students' grades up, the teens' grades up quicker than if you actually don't go with them. Now, I think, it's fun to be able to go to school with the teens, but like going to school with them 5 days a week and actually trying to keep more of like, a hands-on approach towards their studies and their efforts doesn't really seem to make a difference in how quickly they level up, from like a high school a C student to B and to A. Now, Christy and Tessa weren't necessarily the best students, so I tested this out in another save file, and I went with those teens to school every day. They studied really hard, did extra credit work, they studied for exams, they did everything possible, like everything perfectly possible. And it still didn't seem to make a difference. They just weren't leveling up in school. Now, I did this for a few weeks, and then I tried one day that I was like, okay, I'll send them alone to school. And that one day where I didn't go with them, they immediately leveled up to be high school B students. Now, I know that other people have been having this issue, and it doesn't seem to be kind of explained why this is happening. But personally, it made me feel like all that effort that I put in to going with them to school, to making sure they were, studying hard and doing their homework and extra credit work and all of that stuff, it really wasn't worth it. Like, it wasn't worth my time as a player of the game. And honestly, I just felt kind of cheated. Okay, the last thing that I wanted to say is that graduation for me, in my game at least, still seems to be a bust. It is not happening. Now, of course, I haven't tested this out with Christy and Tessa, but I've tested it out in a couple of other save files where I have teens. And when it was time for them to graduate, they just kind of got the notification saying, oh yes, you'll be invited to graduation, or whatever it was. And then it just never happened. In the Sims profiles, it showed that they graduated from school, but we never actually got to attend a graduation. And I've tested this out a few times, and every time it's come back negative. It's not happening. So I've never actually been able to experience that in the game so far. And, it's just another thing for me that I'm like, why doesn't all this stuff work? I can't interact with this pack how I want to. So those are my 8 reasons. And look, after all of that, I don't want to say that I'm being all doom and gloom, because I'm not. There are actually some really great things about this pack. And, one of them, for example, is build and buy. The CAS is also pretty decent. There's new lot types to build for, and there is actually more things for teens to do, even if some of it doesn't actually work. But for me personally, I am quite done with this pack, and I really need a break from it because it was affecting my motivation, not only with this Let's Play, but with Sims as a game, as a whole, and really forced me to take a break from my channel. This might just be a hobby for me, but it's meant to be something that I enjoy, and I was just getting to a point where I just felt angry and disappointed, honestly. I just really didn't even want to open the game at all. If you are watching the LP, I hope you understand why I'm cancelling it. I sort of want to take a step back from LPs in general. I want to finish my Rags to Riches one, just because it was the original one that I started my channel with, and I personally just love it, even if, it's not getting that many views. I want to finish it because I also want to do right by the characters in that Let's Play. But I sort of want to do maybe some other things with my channel, and just take a step back from LPs and kind of having my face on the screen so much, because I think that was another point of pressure for me. And I just kind of, want to do some other things where maybe, whether it's building or some reviews or other stuff, that's not just all about the gameplay and having to deal with how broken things can be in this game. But thanks for listening, and I'll be back with some more videos on my channel, hopefully regularly from now on. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.